go again. Urbanism and digital narratives after COVID. We want to see what goes inside both the city and the internet. Let's just assume they're two of the greatest things that this Homo sapiens species has created. Kind of collective inventions, both. They would be nothing without many people and not sprung from the head of some genius. What does? And we want to continue the study of, since I am a specialist in UI, UX, user experience, and XR, extended realities, VR, AR, hybrid forms, computer-human interfaces, all sorts of things. We want to expand this notion to the city. Here is a demonstration on your motor cortex, your sensory cortex, to extent to which your kinesthetic involvement in any of these things, a city, multisensory city, and a not so multisensory internet. Here's how they range. So we look from the, and then the this is fairly famous, the amount of parts of the body attached to this. So look at the dominant places. The face, the mouth and the face, and the hands. Very sensory rich intake organs. There are practical evolutionary reasons behind a lot of this. We are, I guess it's 2.3, 2.5 times more efficient walking on 2 legs than we are on 4. Huge droughts happened, or at least climate change happened 5 million years ago when the first hominids stood upright, the Australopithecine. What else happened out of that? They've noticed, since mountain chimps, known to be an irascible, violent, territorial creature, that when confronted with recent phenomena like drought, change of environment, they notice a few weird things, that these mountain chimps devote themselves to monogamish sort of relationships with one. They're not known to do that. They mate in groups. They tend to look for caves and other shelters. The males tend to take care of the younger ones, and not surprisingly, they start building more tools. So this is in the past generation. They've noticed this about mountain chimps impacted by climate change doing almost the same things that we were doing 5 million years ago in climate change. Walking upright is more efficient. It frees up the hand. Evolutionary psychologists, proxemicists, proxemic specialists like Edward Hall said, you've now taken on a new lease on life. You are looking forward. Your hands are free. They represent will and volition, moving ahead. They grasp. They are not useless. They become useful, and the ability to do things with. You do not sweat out your pores of your body. Or no, sorry. You do sweat out the pores of your body, sort of prompting losing hair. The Desmond Morris always said that's to increase sexual attraction by losing the hair. Debatable. There's usually some very practical cause behind this. You are a forward-looking ape because you swung in trees. You have predator's eyes, the binocular vision, adjusting perspectival points. You focus forward. You're not an animal with eyes on the side of your heads. probably less so being protein eaters and more swinging in trees. 2 million years ago, the invention of fire, roughly by the very primitive Homo erectus, though they are the most efficient and successful hominid ever known to the planet Earth, lived roughly 2 million years. We've barely even cleared 200,000 years, Homo sapiens, in some forms. Debate: have we stopped evolving? Do we have a primitive mind, or are we evolving at such a rate it's mind-boggling how quickly we are actually adapting to things such as cities 6,000 years ago and the internet nowadays. These things are open for debate. But look at what possibly happened to us 5 million to 200,000 years ago. We have teeth, gum, jaw, tongue, lower lip, lips, upper lip. These things have a sense bandwidth that is not devoted, or at least in combination with each other can be daunting. We assume dogs smell better, sometimes hundreds of thousands times better than we do, but in a way we make up that. Look at little finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, all of these things: thumb, eye, nose, face, touch, sight, sound, expression. New science of micro gestures has become important in using the internet, telephony, which we talk about in this era post-COVID. How satisfying is the so-called digital, or at least the telepresent, telematic, as compared to the analog, which you combine all of these senses: forearm, wrist, hand. These are amazing things. I attended a New York Philharmonic concert last night. The pianist, the persons to perfection playing instruments, for all that upright behavior, certain things, as I told you day one in this class is like making a watch, not like putting parts on a conveyor belt. So please bear in mind all these parts. City might be the primitive internet, might not. When we walk upright, the pelvis of the female has a greater difficulty in childbearing. This was accommodated through natural selection by having the cranium of the infant collapse, but still it was problematic. Many females died during childbirth. And a extremely important thing, in combination, like we said, we noticed the chimpanzees doing strange and weird things like us in one generation of climate change. And these things were shocking to primatologists. When males walked upright, the pelvis, it was more difficult to give birth. Therefore, the cranium is pliant, can collapse, but also this wonderful, weird, vulnerable thing called neoteny. And I contend that neoteny has stayed with us forever, which is post-uterine development of the species, of the young. A gazelle, I guess, can get up in 20 minutes, half an hour, and run with the pack after being born, because ... it would be prey. So it's developed to gestate in the womb, be born, and run. Even an elephant baby can do somewhat the same. It takes a little less than a year for a toddler to get up, and it takes quite a bit longer for this neoteny or cranial development mentality to develop. So the human species has taken every thing that would have crushed it, would have put it out of existence, and turned weaknesses into strength. The standing upright, it's a strength. The hip bone is now, because of the motion, very bad off for childbirth, so it accommodates by infantilizing the infant, by which I mean neontony. This has grown. So not only is this lump very helpless, in some cases the young primates are held onto and accommodated by their mothers for 3 years. They're never almost let down. In opposite to that, surprisingly, human beings are very trusting of their others. A couple other if-then equations. Remember, people, we're clockmakers. We're trying to fit these gears. I'm so sad to say this in this STEM world of linearity, that and even in the humanities, that we're trying to bring down silos and get unified field theories of everything, and we're labeled dilettantes when we do, but the pieces fit. Neontony, the pelvis, the brain, surprisingly, the increased pair bonding of the male and the female. Instead of, there are active primate males, this alpha beta sort of treatment. The alpha male gets the lion's share of most of the females. The betas form these disgruntled groups that sort of follow the periphery of gorilla tribes, chimpanzee tribes, each having their different thing. Bonobos were interesting in the primatologist scheme of thing. They resolve things through so-called peaceful means and intimacy, physical intimacy with the others, rubbing, placating, things like this, whereas the mountain chimp can be extremely violent.